Welcome to Connecting Hope. My name is Mark Jones, your host for this episode. Today we will be talking with Justin Rushing and Suzanne Lafever of the MDHS Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management regarding the important work that they do across Mississippi to help connect the clients of MDHS to the programs that help them enter and remain in the workforce. Suzanne, Justin, welcome to Connecting Hope. We'll start with you, Suzanne. Tell us a little bit about your role within the Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management. I believe you telling about your work will help our listeners and viewers really discern what does the Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management do, but specifically, what is your role? And then Justin will roll right into you.
I'm actually the TANF director in the Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management. I work very closely with our Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, the TANF work program. I also work closely with TANF Services, which involves our TANF subgrants that are located throughout the state.
It sounds like a busy job. You work through that process for the entire state of Mississippi, all 82 counties.
I do. I have great staff that are very supportive and couldn't make it without them. But yes, it's a lot going on throughout the state when it comes to those.
Well, thank you for your work. I know that it's, in many cases, TANF can be misunderstood. So hopefully by the end of this, the whole workforce component of the TANF program can be better understood by our listeners and those who are making decisions regarding this across the state. It may be informative to those who are also looking to find ways to support and do work in their communities. So thank you for the work you do across Mississippi, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Justin, another part of workforce development, something that maybe is also misunderstood, is SNAP ENT component of our Division of Workforce Development. So tell us what role you play within the division.
So I serve as the SNAP ENT director currently at the moment. So what we do is we focus on the employment training aspect of SNAP. So ENT is a subcomponent of SNAP. We currently have 2 SNAP ENT providers within the state, and we are always looking for new providers in both aspects.
So we use a lot of acronyms at MDHS. We have basically an alphabet soup. I think you can concur that when someone comes to work for DHS, the most important thing is the acronym list. So I'm going to go back to you, Justin. What does ENT mean?
So ENT stands for Employment and Training. So you have the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Part of that is the SNAP ENT program. So what that does is that allows our participants to participate in employment and training opportunities around the state.
So we'll go directly into a little more description. So we'll start again with Suzanne to answer this question. But many people are familiar with TANF cash assistance, right, and with SNAP, which is the nation's largest supplemental food program. It's the nation's largest food security program. Within there are a lot of requirements for those clients that we serve to be involved in certain work or education activities in order to remain eligible within that. And so, Suzanne, within the course of your work, that's why you and your team are important, is to help move those clients and help connect to entities in their local community. Let's talk a little bit about those requirements and what they may be, not only in those who receive the services, but how those services may be delivered specifically in communities across Mississippi.
With the TANF work program, participants are required to be in a work activity, and these are going to be people that do not have an exemption, and they are able to work. So what we do with the program, we are able to give them some case management to where we help them to find out, what direction do you want to go? What are your skills? The hope is that we can get them placed into a component, whether it's maybe community service, or it could be a vocational component, or work. The end goal is work. So when we place those in those components, we follow them week to week to see what kind of problems they may be having, an issue. We provide childcare, transportation, which is that's just a game changer for so many people that want to go to work, but if you don't have childcare, or you don't have a car, or the means to put gas in the car, it's almost impossible. So with the work program, it's just a way to take someone that may be down in their luck, in a bad situation. There's so many reasons that someone is not able to work, and we have to look at everything in that individual to make sure that we can meet any need that they may have as they're going through the work program. The other supportive service we have is we have a work expense that's $500 per year, which that can be a game changer also. They may be able to get a job in maybe a distribution facility, but they need the boots that they have to wear, I can't think of the name, steel-toed boots. But if they're in our program, we can help purchase that for them. They may be a CNA that's trying to get through a program and they need scrubs. We can help with that too. So the whole thing about the TANF work program is taking this person that's in this particular situation and helping them to navigate all the way through to where they can get that job that's going to pay them good wages.
So, and I'm going to get to Justin on a similar question, but one of the assessments that I made from what you said is each individual case is unique.
Right.
There are some standard supports that everybody entering or remaining in the workforce may need. One of the things I like is that you mentioned the steel-toed boots and the TANF support. Removing that barrier to entering or remaining that $500 a year. There's others, the example that was given to me recently, maybe a welder. They need some welding gloves,
right.
goggles, a smock or an apron. Some of the other mechanical or industrial components that may be there, your team is working with them to provide supports and remove those barriers, but to also equip and encourage and uplift, right?
Right. I mean, and that is probably the most important thing, is because, when someone comes in and applies and that eligibility specialist talks to them, I mean, that can be a make or break right there, because that person, they may really want to just talk about what's going on. I mean, we know we have paperwork, but you have to look at each individual and see what their needs are. But they could be dealing with something that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that somebody's going through that. But that is a big part of it. Many may come in and don't even have an ID or a driver's license. So, that's something that we need to think about and work on, because if you're going to get a job, we want to be sure that you can get there on your own if necessary. But yeah, it can be very difficult at times, but when you see the success at the end, there's nothing more rewarding.
Let's hold on to those rewarding and hold on to those pieces of how you guys continue to identify and remove those barriers, because Justin, that's a similar experience for those who are on SNAP. SNAP is roughly 250, 280,000 Mississippians at any one given time in terms of number of cases. We have roughly, anywhere from 400 to 600,000 people that are represented within those number of cases across the state at any one time. So the daunting challenge for both of your teams are connecting people who for you, Suzanne, have come out of an experience where they don't understand or don't have access to a lot of those supports historically within their community, especially in underserved parts of the state. But Justin, this is our largest program economically that we do across the agency for SNAP, direct assistance for your EBT card. But within that, y'all come in and do many of those similar supports and direct people into those services and into the training. So talk about those specific pieces that y'all offer.
Yeah, so like Suzanne said, we do some of the similar tasks, just in a different way. So again, we currently operate a Skills to Work program, which is a third-party reimbursement program through the state. What it does, it allows us to partner with agencies around the state, and we can reimburse them 50% of the funds that they expend on our clients. Similar to, as Suzanne was stating, the TANF program, we can reimburse for tools, clothes, glasses, like you were talking about with the welding program, anything welding related, anything education related. Kind of the rule of thumb for Skills to Work is kind of the reasonable and necessary. So within them to participate in their program, is it reasonable and is it necessary? And if it fits in those two categories, then we can reimburse just about anything.
So you can reimburse the client, but you also mentioned potentially a reimbursement to the partners as well, a 50% reimbursement to the partners.
Well, the clients don't receive any of the reimbursement.
Okay.
So the clients are having their funds paid for by the provider, and then we're reimbursing the provider. So for instance, you have an individual that wants to go back to school. We currently have a partnership with Skills to Work with Hines Community College. They can go and register for classes at Hines. Hines will pay them, Hines will apply for the Skills to Work application with us. Once approved, we will notify Hines. Hines will pay for their classes, and then we reimburse Hines 50% of the tuition, the clothes, the books, the fees, as long as they are currently enrolled in the Skills to Work program.
I like that we're reimbursing our partners because those specific our Skills to Work partners would really know what those clients need to enter the workforce as part or to even participate in that training program. Some of those things they may need up front to participate. They also, within Skills to Work, they would need they may not have been in an academic or a technical career setting for a while or at all in their life. And so do they provide those supports as well, helping them within that program thrive within that?
They do. So they have a dedicated staff for Skills to Work participants specifically. What this allows us to do is to monitor the success and progress of this client. So it's really beneficial to be able to have somebody on the other side that's kind of helping them, that's someone that they can go to on site and say, hey, this is what I got going on with classes. So it's very beneficial to have somebody on site there with our client. As you said, somebody who might not have been in school for 10, 15 years. So it's and when they make that decision, they're not making it lighthearted. We have people that come in that they don't know what they want to do. They're scared as to what that new endeavor might look like. So to have that case management and have those individuals there to kind of guide them along that path is huge for us.
In many cases, what the work that both of you do is a lot of people don't understand everything that's out there. They may not know how to navigate through certain situations, but it's also just helping point people in the right direction and being that support piece to make sure that we are removing barriers to their participation in Mississippi's workforce, which by good news continues to grow. We know that especially in central parts of the state and over in East Mississippi, we've had the announcements of some very strong projects, but we also know that accessibility to jobs can be a barrier. And that's one of the things that I hear you guys saying is you want to be not only that compassion, but that voice that helps remove those barriers. Because if you participate in our programs, you've got to be involved for both of you, and maybe talk a little bit more about that. You've got to be involved in either some education or some workforce activities. Along those lines, one of the things we're also working for, you both mentioned how you're helping. Justin, you mentioned Hines Community College. You mentioned 2 partners for Skills to Work?
Yeah, we also have a partnership with Refill Jackson Initiative. They're actually located downtown Jackson. They operate out of Hines, Madison, and Rankin County, and they are currently in the progress of revamping their program. So they centralize around kind of the younger demographic. They offer on-the-job trainings. They offer education components. And they offer job retention programs. So all that allows our participants, for us to refer participants to them, and they'll receive those services free of charge, because Refill will pay for those services and we'll reimburse them 50% of that.
You've probably heard our executive director, Bob Anderson, mention this before regarding Refill. If we could replicate Refill in all 82 counties, we would. And that speaks to a question we'll get to later, is we need partners. And there are already good programs out there that can be, in many cases, replicated. But again, it comes back to capacity across the state, because there are more than just the 3 central Mississippi counties. There are 82 counties in Mississippi. Suzanne, you hail from a different area than central Mississippi, and you see that area, and you're passionate not only about that, but you have teams stationed across the state. So recognizing that there is a need, there are programs that are working, it really comes down to that other word, not only workforce development, but it becomes a partnership piece. That one reason we're having this discussion here today is to maybe clarify, number one, how these programs work and who they're here to serve, but also who can be a part of serving and bringing tangible change to Mississippi, tangible programs to Mississippi that people can touch today, as well as providing them, as our executive director says, providing a hope for tomorrow. And I thank y'all so much for what you do to provide a help and a hope today. Help today, hope tomorrow is really the mission of MDHS. And as we get to the midpoint of our discussion here today, it's already apparent that you guys are doing that, and you're to be commended for the challenging and daunting work that you undertake on behalf of Mississippians every day. So as we segue with my hopefully encouragement to Mississippians to be involved, to get involved, to ask questions, to give us a call. There's so many opportunities, not only for our clients and the passion that Suzanne has shown, but also for trade organizations, community colleges, or other nonprofits that are out here in that space to become involved in us. So when we talk about partnerships, let's segue directly into that. In layman's terms, what does it look like, and how do we utilize the processes built within the agency, whether it's a competitive RFP process or going out and identifying pockets of Mississippi that need services, and how do we connect into those areas utilizing either the competitive RFP process, which is an important piece of fulfilling our mission, but also staying accountable to the federal requirements. So let's talk a little bit about partnerships and the RFP process for TANF and SNAP. Suzanne?
The RFP process, when we are getting ready to put a new RFP out, we usually do post it onto the website. And anyone interested can go to our website and register to get those alerts when they come out. When the RFP is being written, we have to stay within the TANF guidelines for that, and we put in there what we're looking for. Basically, it's what are we looking for. Once that goes out, people can submit their proposals. It goes through a committee, and then the ones that have the highest score are able to become a partner with us. Once that happens, my TANF services team, we're involved once they become a new subgrant. We're very involved with that subgrant to make sure that they understand what they need to do. We do have a training for them. We have a policy manual, because we want to ensure that any of our partners are following all the rules and regulations that may be federal or state. We want to be that support system for them. We do have monitoring. That's a whole separate separate deal there. But for my team, the TANF services team, it's all about making a connection with the people that have that subgrant. We want to know them personally. We want them to call with questions. We want to provide anything that we can to them just to ensure that the program is going as planned.
So you mentioned we put out the services that are needed, but to make it very clear, TANF under federal law, going back almost 30 years now,
Right.
really has 4 tenets. The one that most people are probably familiar with is TANF cash assistance. And then there are 3 other tenets that really fall under the role of the workforce team that you oversee. Talk about those 3 tenets because they guide our RFPs.
They do. We have, we have to promote job preparation.
Yes.
Anything relating to getting someone a job, that's an end goal with.
Which is also, to make clear, a component of receiving the cash assistance.
Exactly. We want to prevent and reduce any out-of-wedlock pregnancies. That's another federal requirement. Also, we want to encourage the formation and maintenance of families. I think the goal for everyone is to have that family unit, if at all possible, but many times it takes things from the outside to help that to happen. So the sub-grants that we have, Parenthood Initiative, after school, and workforce training and education. When you look at workforce training and education, that's going to cover, we want to get them a job. Do they need a high school diploma? Do they want to, do they have a job but it's not paying enough? Do they want to get in a program where they can possibly increase their income? We want to do that. After school programs, I love those. I mean, they're just great because you are taking, young children, young teenagers, whatever the age may be, but, these are going to be, children that maybe don't have the support at home. Maybe you have a single mom and she doesn't get off work till 7 o'clock. It may be children that are having trouble in school, having some type of issue there. But these after-school programs, they do all the things that the children need, whether it's tutoring. They can offer STEAM programs. There's just so many things that they do to just encourage and enrich that child to hopefully let that child be able to move right on through life and be successful. With the, I lost my train of thought, the Parenthood Initiative.
Yes.
These programs are great too because there are so many single moms, and there could be single dads, that face, all kinds of issues in raising that child. They may need help with, what do they need to eat? How do I protect them? There's so many things that can go into that. And if you've got a single parent, sometimes they don't have a support system. Many are on their own with possibly a new baby. There's just so much that a single parent, needs to raise that children. They need the support too. And a lot of our programs, all of our Parenthood Initiative programs, that's what they focus on. I mean, they try to take that mom or that dad and give them, resources, anything that they may need to ensure that they are a good parent and that they can raise, a child that can be, good in school, make good grades, have dreams and hopes. So all of our programs I love them. I love to see the success stories. That's the best part because sometimes it's just amazing to see the success of what these programs do every day.
Essentially, stabilized families, after-school care, child care, really the workforce component, all 3 of those work to become a holistic wraparound to strengthen a parent's ability to be active in the workforce and, as you mentioned, have that element of upward mobility.
Right.
One of the goals of TWP, of the TANF work program, is to give people the ability to, because TANF actually has a 5-year lifetime cap to remain on the system. There may be gaps in there over time, but to move someone to self-sufficiency within the requirements of that program itself. So that's why it's critical to have partnerships in local communities, to have them embedded in those local communities where we know where the needs are, and maybe the specific training type programs or some type of program that connects them into opportunities within that community. Because what goes on in Marks, Mississippi and Shaw, Mississippi is going to look a little bit different than
Right.
Jackson, Mississippi and Hattiesburg and the coast.
That
So I
is for
appreciate
sure.
the work you guys do to work locally. And that's why, again, from the subgrant piece, and we're going to talk a little bit about some upcoming initiatives and an RFP going out in a few moments. But to tease that, that's why those partnerships are critical on the TANF side.
They are. They are very critical. It just makes a huge difference to have them in those communities. And a lot of times they are underserved communities, communities that just have a lot of problems or issues, and they're trying to do better, but they're spinning their wheels. So it makes a huge difference for the people in those communities that need those services.
So Justin, I'm going to turn to you because we've identified kind of the audience that may need TANF services and some of the work and how those partnerships come about. With SNAP E&T, it may be a little bit different how those relationships are fostered, but also those and why they need SNAP E&T. And I'm going to use one of those famous acronyms and ask you to kind of expand upon it, that word ABAWD. And then move into why specifically for SNAP, which again, I go back, it's our largest program of support for Mississippi families in this agency. It really is an entry point for many people into the services that this agency provides. And it is also an entry point for many people to be introduced to the work requirements as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Justin, and kind of go at it from how you manage that expectation.
Yeah, so currently Mississippi operates what's considered a mandatory program. And with that mandatory program comes a group known as ABAWDs, which are able-bodied adults without dependents. So these individuals are kind of our target audience for E&T, but volunteers are also able to participate in EMT. Of course, you have to be a resident of Mississippi. You have to be receive SNAP benefits. There's a group of there's a whole group of who is an ABAWD, who isn't. You know, you have your state you have your exemptions from ABAWDs, which is just going to turn you into a volunteer in most cases, but you can still participate in ENT.
And that component is really 20 hours a week.
Yes.
Give or take a few exemptions.
Yeah, so ABAWDs they're required to meet 20 hours a week, 80 hours a month, and ENT is a route they can take to help them meet those requirements. Again, currently we have Skills to Work as part of the ENT components. Anything that can allow our clients to get that what you call, I guess, real life work experience. What we'd like to do, one, identify, what job duties or what job opportunities do they offer? What would our client be learning in that role? We don't want to send an individual somewhere where they're just going to answer a phone for 20 hours a week, not really learning those real job, not having that real job experience. So it's identifying what that provider can offer our client, and then it's all about assessing that client and identifying that they're going to be a good match for that provider as well.
Because that's a partnership. We don't want someone to feel like they're taking on a burden, but that it becomes an investment not only into the life of an individual, but also an investment and maybe into their own business, because either, number one, they're identifying potential new employees, or they're helping to give the skills of being present every day at a job to somebody or at a responsibility, so that in their future, again, that upward mobility piece of being connected in to the daily responsibility of going out and being actively engaged. I also love the fact that you say we want it to be worthwhile for our client. You don't want them just sitting there answering phones or shuffling papers. Those are important things to do, but again, it goes to that. I love that Skills to Work We're giving people skills for everyday life, whether it's work or family or relationships within their community. And again, they're also seeing a picture. Our clients get to see a stronger picture of how they're supporting their community, and businesses and government entities and nonprofits get to see how they're a bigger part of a picture of strengthening their communities. So those are really perceptions that people may not have about how these programs do to strengthen a local community, strengthen a county, and even strengthen our state. And that's a beautiful piece to the work that you guys do. It's kind of a less recognized piece that you guys are helping build stronger families and communities. So several questions, and we're going to come to over the last couple. Jump in and say something.
Jumping into what Suzanne was saying about success stories. We love success stories. I think one of my favorites for Skills to Work is we had an individual that came out of the correction system, applied for Skills to Work through Hines Community College, completed the Skills to Work Hines Community College portion, and is actually now employed with Hines Community College. So I thought that was really cool.
That was one of the best.
See the full, the full circle of how it can work.
Right.
I think one of the things that we need to do from our standpoint is we need to tell more of those stories, because there are individuals out there that either they've never had that opportunity to have success in their life. They come out of a situation where maybe out of their family life that pushed them into incarceration. No matter what their experience is, they come out and need hope. And there is one success story out of many that you guys get to see. I'm jealous. I'm jealous you guys get to see that even before I do. But it's a pleasure knowing that those are happening every day in communities around us. And number one, I hope you take pleasure in the work that you do to see those things come to fruition, to see lives changed and lives transformed. So in order to transform more lives, to get more people involved, to get more sub-grant partnerships, to bring in and build a stronger Mississippi, what would an entity that would like to partner with MDHS need to know to explore more partnerships going forward? What do they need to do? Whether it's simply reach out and ask a question. A lot of people are scared to ask questions because they're scared they're going to sound like they don't know. They don't want to sound ignorant. Well, the fact is there are no dumb questions because hopefully our listeners and our viewers can see the passion and love that you have for serving Mississippi. And that's why we're here today, to dispel some of the myths, to answer some of the questions. So what are some of the things that a potential partner may need to know, or how would they go about getting those questions answered? I'll start with you, Suzanne.
Like you said, reaching out would be good. I would also recommend the website. When you go to the website, you can actually go in and see all of our partners. You'll have a link to go to their website, which is great. I mean, I do that a lot of times just to kind of see what's going on, see what's happening, if they've got some news. But you can actually go to the website and you can kind of go and see who are partners right now, and maybe even compare what are they doing and what am I doing. And you don't have to be, a huge organization. I mean, you can be something small. You could possibly be a church that's running an after school. But of course, reaching out. I think focusing on kind of what we've talked about with our Parenthood Initiative, after school, and the workforce training and employment. If you're running a program and you fall into any of those categories, you're doing that case management. You're doing, with children, you're doing STEAM programs, or you're doing, anything that helps them as a teenager. They can. Many of them, talk about sexual abuse, things that you don't want to talk about, that maybe even a parent can't talk about. But, those programs, that they may bring in counselors to help, talk to those kids, to talk about things that they may not be getting at home or, wherever. But, anyone that's got, a program that they're doing, if they fall into those categories, and it never hurts to apply. Yeah. It never hurts to go ahead and submit a proposal and just see. And it may be that, you may not get it this time, but you may learn from this time and get it the next time. We just, we want, anyone that has a program, apply. Just apply and go through the process. And also we've got the 3 that we've listed, but, supportive services. That is the biggest need, I think, statewide. Transportation, child care, those things. And there are some people that may have a program that those are things that they offer. They may offer transportation or, some type of child care. Any kind of supportive service is always, it's just needed.
And you don't have to offer all of them.
Exactly.
You could just offer just one.
Exactly.
And I love that you emphasized, and I want to highlight that point. You don't have to be a large statewide nonprofit or a regional entity. You could be an individual entity in one community.
Exactly.
And you know that you could serve 5, 10, 15 more children if you had somebody come
Right.
alongside you. But the question is, you can't get it if you don't ask.
That's
and
right.
that's why we have your teams to answer questions and also open the door for that ask and for that response to those competitive RFPs
Right.
that we'll get to in a second that are coming.
Right.
And I love that you highlighted again, local communities, big and small.
Big and small.
Big and small, focused. You want to make a difference? The question is, how can I partner with DHS, or how can DHS partner with me to make that happen? So let's go over to Justin, really. What would a partnership? I know we have Hines and Refill on the Skills to Work side. What questions might they need answered in order to become a partner?
Skills to Work, similar to what Suzanne was saying about TANF, it's not a one-size-fits-all. One of our providers anticipates to serve 300 participants in a year. The other one anticipates to serve 24. We work closely with our providers. Actually, my staff has weekly calls with our partners right now. They are, and if you ask our providers and my staff, they, in a sense, they feel like they're coworkers. In some cases, they're talking daily. We offer them the opportunity to request training or calls at any time, for whatever that may be. Skills to Work has an open application process, which basically means that we have an application on our MDHS website under the Skills to Work tab. Again, you can also reach out to any of the county directors in 82 counties, and they can connect you to the DWD point of contact. Each DWD staff member is responsible for a region around the state.
Justin, you were mentioning that there are some contact points. We want to make sure that we try to be as exhaustive as we can, explaining how people can reach out. Website, mdhs.ms.gov. Both of your work have some email addresses.
So Skills to Work right now, you can submit requests through dwd.southcentral@mdhs.ms.gov. Again, we're always looking for new providers. And what I like to usually tell potential providers is that, odds are you're already serving SNAP recipients in your day-to-day work. So why not get reimbursed at least 50% of your funds?
I like that sales pitch. I mean, what's in it for me? 50% of your funds, right? All right, Suzanne, you were going to say something?
I was just going to say, we do work very closely with our economic assistance partner there. And we want to commend them for all of the work that they do. A lot of times, it's going to fall on them first. They're going to take that person and interview them, approve their case or deny their case. But if it's approved, then they're going to send them over to us if they're TWP or EMT. But, they do a lot of hard work over there too to get that person ready to come over to us to get into the work program and, hopefully be able to just move straight through and get a job. That's what we always want, get a job. So
I love that you mentioned this is one agency. Mr. Anderson many times talks about it's one agency,
Right.
and we give a basket of support to families. and our Division of Economic Assistance Eligibility. Those are our 82 county offices.
Right.
They are our first touch point.
Exactly.
But they, we hope, are not our final touch point.
Right, right, because they are on the front line, and so, you know, what they do, that, you know, determines, you know, the path that that person is going to take. So it's very important to know that we do work very closely, you know, with them, and we appreciate the work they do also, so.
There's some opportunities, some new happenings on the horizon regarding the work that the Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management will be undertaking. Let's talk a little bit about those new developments. I'll start with you, Suzanne, and then if Justin wants to add anything in there, and then I'll close because I'm overwhelmed by the amount of information that you've shared today.
We should be having 2 new requests for proposals coming out hopefully in the next, I don't know, month, maybe a few weeks. So I really want to put that out there, you know, for people to go to the website and sign up to get those alerts. But that's going to be pretty exciting because that's going to mean that we're going to be bringing more partners on throughout the state. So that's exciting for our division, of course, because the more we have, the more we can serve. But that is coming up. We've also, with Division of Workforce and Development, we have started a training team. I think we've got a full staff now, if I'm not mistaken. So that's been very exciting for us. And they'll be working closely with economic assistance to hopefully, you know, be able to have that training unit that will be able to help our eligibility workers, our staff, even DWD staff. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to the future of our training team. So.
Anything exciting on the horizon for SNAP E&T, Justin?
Yeah, so we currently are in communications with 3 potential skills to work providers. So we're really excited about that. As Suzanne said, we've onboarded a training unit, which I think is going to be a huge help. You know, being able to identify, you know, recurring issues or errors that we may see, and being able to provide that assistance or those training needs as needed, especially for, you know, people that may be coming in from outside the agency. You know, that's walking into the county offices, which we know, you know, the workload that they already carry. You know, having somebody else that can train an individual that's not taking work away from you, I think is going to be a huge help for the county.
I could not be more excited than I am really for these upcoming RFPs for the 3 primary that we've traditionally done, which is after school, workforce participation, and PI, Parenthood Initiative. Again, some of those main barriers in communities that we identified for workforce participation across the state. Number 1, transportation. If you can't get to work, you can't be at work.
That's right.
And then if you don't have child care, stable, of quality child care, you cannot be at work. And so we understand that those 2 are strong barriers. And the work that you guys do to eliminate those barriers and to support upward mobility in the workforce is to be commended. One thing that I will reference that Suzanne has referenced, and what we'll do is we'll put, Justin, we'll put your email that you mentioned and keep it here. You can sign up for procurement alerts by going to mdhs.ms.gov to our procurement page and scroll to the bottom where you can sign up for emails. Just share your email. When a new posting has been put on our website, you will receive that notification. I will brag, I don't know of any other agency in the state of Mississippi that does partnership this way.
It's been great. I mean, even with the sub-grantees that we have, you know, that's a way for them to make sure that, because they may want to do something different, yes. You know. So, and they have really, you know, that's been a good thing. So
we'll put those links for both of y'all's contact information. We'll also, as we close out, put some information regarding other ways to contact the Division of Workforce Development and Partnership Management. Thank you both for joining me today. The work that you do, the work that you lead with your teams to do is commendable. It's an important part of the work of this agency. In many cases, it goes unrecognized, but it is not unnoticed and it is not without merit. It is an important piece of moving Mississippi forward. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.